Riley, hey, congratulations for Duel.
Thank you so much. I'm very, very excited for people to see it.
You know what? I was excited this past Sundance. This is one of the first films I watched out of Sundance, and I loved it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely one that's not going to be for everybody, but I think that the people who have really responded to it have gotten a lot out of it, and that's hugely exciting to me.
So then tell us where the original story came from for your exciting film of Duel.
I mean, the initial idea really just came out of the simple desire to see a performer act opposite themselves. And I figured out the idea that if in this alternate reality you were sick and dying, you knew that you weren't going to be around, you could have yourself cloned so that your family wouldn't have to miss you. But I also knew that that wasn't enough. And so I sat with the idea a little longer. And one day the question came to me, what would happen if you went into remission? And for some reason, the answer immediately popped in my head. Well, of course, you'd have to duel yourself to death. And that kind of informed everything from that point on. And that's the movie that you get today.
Now, this is a dark comedy, for some people that must actually understand, because there is actually humor in it. And it is, to some people, it is actually very funny. It's funny to me.
Yeah.
But you've done a dark comedy before. And dark comedies are hard to do. How do you make lightning strike twice?
Well, I mean, I hope people feel like it's striking. I feel like it's the movie that I wanted to make. I actually kind of consider, so I made a short film called The Cub in 2013 that was at Sundance, and I made a feature after that called Faults that I consider both of those dark comedies. The Art of Self-Defense went even more in that direction in between my two features. And Duel, I think, just follows along that same line. It's trust in yourself. It's trust in the cast. I'm very, very structured in the way that I go about working on the script. It's just having all those pieces in place and having an overall understanding of the movie and trusting yourself enough not to waver as it's going. I think it'd be very easy to say, I got to take the safer route here rather than just like going for it. It's a constant tightrope walk and it's always scary, but it's one that I like to do. So I'm glad that people like yourself think it's funny, and hopefully I'll continue to do this for the next thing.
I know you have no idea the dog scene on how many times I had to replay that because that was just so hilarious.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think is going to come as a surprise to people in the theater, and I feel like if you're going to have a dog scene of that nature, you have to have a reason for doing it. And coming up with my reason for this, the little punchline at the end of it, hopefully it works in the way that it worked for you, for other people. But at the end of the day, there's going to be people who hate it because of that. And I'm okay with that. You have to accept that. And I think that goes along with the whole not wavering in the face of being afraid of the possibilities or the reactions. I just trusted the process on that.
Now it sounds like film after film, it's a dark comedy for yourself. Why do you like this genre so much?
I like that I get to create a world, especially with the kind of dark comedies that I tend to lean towards. It's all about the world building and the way that people speak to each other, the way that society treats certain situations, and the way that it affects their laws, the way they interact with people. I think that all of that is the fun part for me, or one of the fun parts. I also really like that life is kind of a dark comedy. I don't think that anything is just overly serious all the time. And I don't think that there is something that doesn't have a sense of drama to it as well in our lives. We always are a mix of all these things. This may be a stylized version of that life, but it's just trying to say, all right, if this is a movie and we're going to treat it like a movie, let's lean into it and really commit to a tone and a world. And I like to also, selfishly as a director, I like to hear laughter and know that I was the reason that happened, or the way that I directed the actors, or the way that we edited a scene, that people are laughing in a room because of that work. And so it's hard for me to ever imagine doing something that's a straight drama. And similarly, it's hard to ever imagine going into something and saying, I only want to hear laughter all the time. So it's like finding the balance of those two things.
So this movie is going to be special because it's going to come out in theaters. So you're going to hear laughter, unlike some of us who watch it virtually.
Yeah, I've been able to have that experience a couple of times now. I just got back from Chicago. Joe Swanberg played it at a secret screening to a local theater crowd there in his neighborhood, and it was just so fun being able to actually get that response and know that things were working. And again, you're never going to please everybody. Not everyone's going to think something's funny. Not everyone's going to think that something like works dramatically. But I think the overall vibe was worth it, and hopefully we'll have more of that as the film hits theaters on April 15th and kind of plays for the next month or two. So yeah, I'm very excited.
Now, unlike your previous film, where there was a lot of fight sequences or fight training sequences, how did you want to approach something like this?
I think with all the movies I've done so far, it's been about subverting expectations of where things could go. And in the past, it tended to be something starts a little brighter and a little bit less dramatic and maybe, or sorry, a little less scary or weird, and it slowly devolves into something a little bit more nefarious. And I really like the idea of Duel starting, like, you think you know where it's going, you think that this is going to be about all these fighting scenes and maybe how it's going to culminate. But at the end of the day, it ends up being a little bit more positive. It's about bettering yourself. It's about finding out who you are and taking life and making sure that you're the person leading the charge, as opposed to letting life dictate who you are. So the subversion in this movie might be that it's actually more positive than I think people are led to believe. At the end of the day, though, it's still very dark. So I don't know. It's all kind of all over the place.
Now, last week I just spoke to Gillan about your film too, and he told me that you are an expert in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Expert is relative. I feel like I've been doing it 9 years, and I compete, and I love it. I coach now too, which has been a really rewarding experience. But 9 years is nothing compared to people who have been doing it their entire lives. And if I train with somebody who is better than me, like, it's not just like a night, like oh, they're a little bit better. Like, there are experiences where you feel like you can't do a single thing to another person and they're just playing with you. And it's eye-opening. It reminds me too that in life, there are people who commit themselves to something and they're just like the best at it. And there are levels to everything. And just always wanting to try to better myself in those areas, or as a person, whatever. Jiu-jitsu has been a good reminder and a good ego check going through life, and it's just a nice excuse to not think about movies sometimes too, because I think that you can get bogged down in the minutia of it all, and it's cool to get away and do something completely different sometimes.
Terrific. Hey, one more thing. Your film, I have never seen Karen in this way, because I usually see Karen, it's sort of like bubbly, funny, in a colorful way, but she's kind of like very toned down. So tell us what notes you actually gave her, and tell her to change her personality to play not one but two roles in a film like this.
Well, at the end of the day, she's an actor, and so she came in knowing that she had to be a character that would fit into the feeling of the world, the tone of the world. So she came in ready to do that. And she had seen my previous films, so she knew sort of the direction that we were going, but a lot of it was conversations about who Sarah is, how Sarah's double is different than her, and never going too big with that, never making it so obvious that they're two different people. We needed it to be more subtle. They are somewhat the same person. It's just that they're going down their different paths now. I can give her all the notes in the world about how I think a role should be played, but at the end of the day, she and the other actors have to commit to that. And Karen fully committed. And I think that it's one of the best, if not the best thing that she's done. Obviously, I'm biased. And I hope she had the best time doing it, because it's definitely a step outside of her normal space, like you said. But I think people are going to be very surprised to see her in that space, and they're going to really like it.
Terrific. Hey, Riley. Hey, thank you very much for
Thank you, man.
to us, and I can't wait till your next dark comedy.
I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for doing this.
Hey, thank you. Bye now.
Thanks.